Hello everyone. Today we will study a small concept from object oriented programming using Java. That is the first module, introduction. Chapter 1, approaches to the software design. Basically, before going to the approaches of the software design, first we will know about what is software. Software is a collection of instructions or programs, you can say, that enable the user to interact with the computer, its hardware, or perform the task. Basically you can say software is a set of computer programs. Okay, it is used to operate the computer's operations or to execute specific task. Okay, so it's the main part of our computer system, that is the software. Without software, most computers will be useless. For example, if you considered a browser, okay, a browser software, without browser you could not surf the internet, okay, or without the operating system you cannot run the browser on your computer. So software is an important concept, okay, or important part of your computer. Okay, without software your computer will be useless. So software is basically a set of computer programs which is used to operate the computer operations or to execute specific tasks in your computer. So basically there are two types of software, that is the main system software and application software. So if you consider the system software, without system software your computer will not work. So the examples are operating system, compilers, interpreters and assemblers. So these are the system software. Application softwares are those softwares which are used by us on that computer, like railway reservation software, Microsoft Office software, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint. Okay, so these softwares are used by the user to operate, okay, in your computer. So those are the applications. So without application software also your computer will work. But system softwares are those softwares which is required for the computer to perform its task, like operating system, okay, interpreters, compilers, okay, they are the computer software. Okay, application softwares is like a PowerPoint presentation, Word, which we use, okay, in our computer to perform our task. Now, software design is what? Okay, it's a process to transform user requirements into a suitable form, which helps the programmer in a software coding and implementation. Like in a software, when you are trying to develop a particular software, the first stage is the client's requirements. You have to collect the requirements from the clients, and that requirements you have to analyze it whether it is feasible or not. After that you have to go convert it into a design phase. You have to convert that requirements into a design, okay, and that design, okay, that diagrammatical design will be converted into a coding, that is the implementation part, and then the testing phase, and then the maintenance phase. Okay, so this is how the actual software is developed. So first you have to collect the requirements from the user, and that has to be converted into a design phase, that is a software design. So when you're developing a particular software, there will be one phase in there, that is a software design, where you will be actually drawing a graphical representation of that particular software will be shown. The design process for the software system, after it has two levels. The first level, the focus is on deciding which modules are needed for the system on the basis of the SRS. SRS is software requirement specification. It is basically a document where the client's requirements or users requirements will be present. Okay, and the second thing is and how the modules will be interconnected. So that is the first level. First level is the SRS document where the users requirements will be present and how all those modules, all those sections of that particular software are interconnected to each other. Software design is the first step in the software design lifecycle model. In the software design lifecycle model is there. In that different phases is there. Then the first phase is the software design phase, where you are actually drawing in a graphical representation you are showing of that particular software which you have to develop. It tries to specify how to fulfill the requirements mentioned in the SRS. So SRS document will contain all the client's requirements. So those client's requirements will be converted into a graphical representation, that is a software design phase or a design representation. So basically there are two approaches of the design phase, software design. The two approaches are functional oriented design and object oriented design. So the first one is the functional oriented design. In the functional oriented design, the system is comprised of many smaller subsystems known as function. So basically here the whole program, okay, or whole software is divided into sub programs, that is called sub functions. Okay, so the whole program is divided into functions where each function will perform certain task. Okay, so these functions are capable of performing significant tasks in that system. Function oriented design inherits some properties of structured design where divide and conquer strategy methodologies. Divide and conquer methodology means what? You take the whole program, you divide it into problems, again you will divide it, and then you solve it individually, and then you combine it. That is divide, first you divide it and then you combine it. So same way here also the whole program will be divided into sub problems, and that each problems is solved by each functions, and all these functions will be combined together to form that whole software. So in function oriented design, here the program is divided into functions and each function will perform a particular task in it. So in the functional modules can share the information among themselves by means of information passing and using information available globally. So if you see a banking process here, okay, it is a example of functional oriented design. Here there are different functions in a bank. If you are considering ATM, withdraw is there, deposit is there, and transfer is there. So each withdraw, deposit, and transfer, each of this will have its own function. Okay, so here you can see withdraw, deposit, transfer are the functions. That can be further divided into sub functions. So basically in function oriented design, the entire problem is divided into functions, and those functions can be broken down into further sub functions or smaller functions, and these smaller functions are converted into software modules. Okay. So the next one is the object oriented design. Now here you are not making use of any functions. Here you are making use of objects and classes. Okay. So here it is based on objects and the interaction between these objects. Okay. Interaction between the objects is called as a message communication. Okay. It involves designing of objects, classes, and the relationship between these classes. Okay, so you can take the previous example, that is the banking. Okay, so in banking process, customer, money, and account are the objects. Okay, the customer, the money, and the bank or account are the objects. So in object oriented design, here the main concept are the objects and the classes. Okay, the implementation of the software is based on the concepts of objects. This approach is very close to the real world applications. Okay, you can relate object oriented design to a real world applications. So basically object oriented programming, these are the main concepts of object oriented programming, that is the objects, class, polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance, and abstractions. So next we will study about object in that. So objects are the real world entities that has their own properties and behavior. It has physical existence like person, bank, company, customers are the examples of the objects. Okay. Next is the class. Class is a blueprint or a prototype from which the objects are created. So you can, in a programming concept, if you consider, in a class you can create multiple objects for that particular class. Okay, so class will be a blueprint or a prototype from which the objects can are created. A class is a generalized description of that particular object. A class is an instance of that object. Okay, so in the programming concept, a class will be created. A class, through the class multiple objects can be created. Okay, for one class multiple objects can be created. So object's description will be specified within that particular class. Okay. What is the relationship between the object and the class? Okay, if you take an example of a human being, okay, human being as a class. Okay, my name is John and I am an instant object of that particular class, human being. So if human being is considered as a class, John will be the object of that particular class. Okay, so an object has a physical existence while a class is just a logical. Okay, a class is just a logical, but object is a physical existence of it. Okay, so now we will come to the encapsulation. Encapsulation means what? Wrapping up of data and functions into a single unit. A class will be declared in a program. A class consists of data and methods, or variables and functions. So these variables and functions are combined together into a particular single unit, that is called class. So that concept is called as an encapsulation, or it can be, or you can say as information hiding. Okay, it is hiding the information from the outside world. So if you take an example of a capsule, within the capsule you can see the medicine which is present with it. So the outer layer you can consider as a class, and within that class it consists of the variables and the methods. Okay, so what is the benefit of this particular encapsulation? It protection of a data from the accidental corruption, because it is hiding the information from the outside world. Flexibility and extensibility of the code and reduction in the complexity. Encapsulation of the class can hide the internal details of how the object does something. Okay, means mainly it is hiding the functionality of that particular object from the outside world. It protects the abstraction. So what is the abstraction? Abstraction means you are displaying only the essential information to the outside world while remaining things will be hidden. That is called as the abstraction. So data abstraction refers to providing only the essential information about the data to the outside world while hiding the background or the implementation. If you take an example of a car, if you know to how to drive a particular car, an accelerator will increase the speed of the car, or if you apply a brake, it will stop that particular car. Okay, but you don't know the working behind it. When you press the accelerator, the speed will be increased, or when you press the brake button, it will stop, but you don't know the inner working of that particular car. That is called as abstraction. Okay, he does not know the inner mechanism of that particular car or the implementation of that particular accelerator or a brake. This is what the abstraction. Okay, abstraction and encapsulation. Encapsulation is like a class where all the details are hidden. Abstraction means you are showing only the essential information to the outside world. Next one is a polymorphism. Polymorphism means having many forms. Okay. We can define polymorphism as the ability ability of a message to be displayed in a multiple forms. So if you consider an example of a person at the same time can have different characteristics. Like a person at the same time is a father, is a husband, or is an employee. Okay, he will be a father to his children, he will be a husband to his wife, he will be an employee for that particular company. So that is called as a polymorphism, a particular object which has multiple forms of it. Okay, a person can exhibit different characteristics according to that particular situation. So that is the polymorphism. So same person can pose different behaviors in different situations. That is called as a polymorphism. An operation may exhibit different behavior in different instances, and the behavior depends upon the type of the data used in the operation. So that is the polymorphism. Okay, a polymorphism, a man at the center, he is an employee to a company for the family. He will be a main person. He can go, he can act as a different person depending upon that particular situation. And the next one is the inheritance. Inheritance means the capability of a class to derive the properties and the characteristics from the another class. That is called as the inheritance. Means one class is inheriting the properties of the another class. Means the objects of one class can acquire the properties of the another class. Okay, so here there will be two main class that you are considering, that is a subclass and the superclass. Subclass will be coming under, okay, if you consider subclass is the child class, superclass is the parent class. So the child class, that is a subclass, will inherit the property from the parent class, and the superclass is that particular class whose properties will be inherited by the child class or the subclass. And the last one is the reusability. Reusability, inheritance supports the reusability. Means what? You, as I told about the inheritance, where one class will try to access the properties of another class. So what is it doing? One class is trying to access the code of another class. So you are reusing the same code. So one code of a particular class will be reused by multiple classes. So that is the reusability. Okay, so when we want to create a new class, there is already a class that includes some of the code that we want. We can derive our new class from the existing class. So when you derive that particular class from the existing class, so that new class can extract or can take the or can derive the properties of the existing class. Okay, so this we are reusing the field and the method of the existing class. If you take an example of the animal as the main class or superclass or parent class, from the superclass many subclass are created, that is the dog class, cat and the cow class. So this dog, cat and cow class can take the properties or the code from the animal class. So this is the reusability. So that animal class code will be reused by the multiple classes. So thanks for watching.